The pastoral epistles are among the most enjoyable portions of Scripture for any preacher because they deal directly with pastoral ministry and the ministry within the context of the church. 1 Timothy is written by the Apostle Paul to Timothy, a true child in the faith. That is a young man that began following Paul in ministry during his second missionary journey and continued to follow him right up until the end. 1 Timothy is a magnificent book to preach because it deals with everything from chapter 1, the charge to stand against false teaching and false teachers, to chapter 2 in addressing the subject of the role of men and women in the church, to chapter 3 as we begin to look at the qualifications for spiritual leadership, first for elders and then for deacons. Chapter 4 is especially relevant to the pastor because it's Paul talking to Timothy about being faithful to his calling and being a good example to the flock. Chapters 5 and 6 close out with a series of specific issues related to the care of widow, compensation and correction for elders, instructions for slaves, instructions about false teachers and the love of money, etc. The first epistle that Paul writes to Timothy is a magnificent book to preach through because it really is an articulation of what pastoral ministry is supposed to be all about, from one mature pastor to a young man who is probably upwards of 38 to 40 years old at the time that he receives 1 Timothy. It addresses a real circumstance within the context of the church, that is, going into Ephesus and setting things straight that are wrong and solidifying what has already been established, and at the same time clearly articulating to Timothy what would really be faithful to God as a young minister of the gospel. The preaching of 1 Timothy not only has a magnificent impact upon the preacher who preaches it, it also is a marvelous instruction for the saints as they hear what God expects of them and of their leadership.